All right, President Donald Trump is wrapping up his Middle East visit, and a lot has transpired in these few days, and we want to get you up to par on everything that has happened. So let's get after it.
The following program is brought to you by friends and partners of End Time Headlines.
All right, what's going on, friends, family, viewers, partners, everyone and anyone who's joining us via the platform video-wise, YouTube, Rumble. Maybe you're watching this as it's being streamed on this Thursday night, May 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern. We want to welcome you to the program. And listen, if this is your first time joining us, or hopping on here, or finding us on YouTube or Rumble, whatever the case may be, can you let us know in the comment section below that you are new and where you guys are joining us from? And of course, we welcome everybody watching the rebroadcast of this. And you guys listening by Apple, by Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast, we welcome you as well. And guys, for you guys who are regulars here, you know the drill. Why don't you go ahead and help us out? Hit that like button. That's going to push it out there. Get eyes on the program, get eyes on our ministry, and so others can be blessed and informed by our content as well. You guys listen by Apple, by Spotify. We appreciate you guys giving us a good review. If this is a blessing to you, this ministry is a blessing to you. It is of value to you of any form or fashion. You can help us out by giving us those good reviews on podcast as well. So we got a lot to cover today, guys. Again, as you know, Donald Trump paid a visit to the Middle East, and he made a few stops. One of them was not Israel. We're going to talk about that today. But he talked with the likes of the president or the interim president of Syria. We're going to give you caught up on what happened there. He also talked to the crown prince there in Saudi Arabia, what transpired there. There is a lot of rumors circulating, and we're going to address all those. Also, some headlines that I believe are absolutely prophetic. So we're going to cover all this today on today's Mideast update. So hang in there with us. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. You may like or dislike some of this, what we're going to get out there. We're going to give you the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to try our best not to leave no stone unturned. Now, you may be watching this or listening, and you say, well, why is this significant to Bible prophecy? Because, well, first of all Bible prophecy, guys, if you read the book of Daniel and you read the book of Revelation, now we could go into Zechariah and we can go into Ezekiel and you can go into other major prophets of the Bible and their words and their prophecies regarding the Middle East, but we'll stick, just for sake of argument here, we'll stick with Daniel and we'll stick with John the Revelator. He wrote what you and I know as the book of Revelation in 95 AD. The reason why I want to stick with these two gentlemen is because what Daniel saw and what John saw are paralleled. They don't contradict one another. They complement one another. And here is the main key to this. And even guys, if you go to the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, all end-time Bible prophecy stops and is centered around the Middle East. Really, you could even home it even farther. You can zoom in, and it's based right around the Mediterranean Sea Basin region, that area right in there. But just for sake of argument, again, the Middle East, all Bible prophecy is centered around the Middle East with the nation of Israel as the key center focal point of Bible prophecy. Jesus referred to him as the fig tree. He says, when its leaves become tender, you'll know that summer is near and even at the door. So all these prophecies, go to the book of Acts chapter 3. Peter talks about the significance of Israel fulfilling the words of the prophets until all things be fulfilled. He says in Acts chapter 3, even Jesus is being restrained from heaven. Yes, it says that. Go study it out. until the fulfillment of all things that's been spoken of by the prophets since the beginning of time. And it's all centered around Israel. So this is why this is significant. We can't just ignore this stuff and skip over this. And the reason why this is not political. Ladies, let me just say that again, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a political update. This is not a political message, because it doesn't matter if it was a Democrat or a Republican or an independent that represents the United States of America. The fact that they're going over there and making negotiations and making plans and creating blueprints for what's going to impact us in the future and the Middle East, that is not political, it is prophetic. Because you go and you start analyzing the book of Revelation, and it talks about in the last days, there will be 10 kingdoms that will arise, and the Antichrist emerges he rises up out of those 10. The Antichrist will be, his throne of power will be centered in Israel, in Jerusalem, in the Temple Mount, in this third temple that will be constructed in the last days, Revelation 11. So this is why we're talking about this today. So again, we don't want you to think this is a political message, because it's not. This is a prophetic update about the Middle East, because we're going to try to fill you in with everything that's going on, but we want to give it to you from a biblical perspective of where we could be heading and where it ultimately is heading. Okay, so we're going to get into these headlines. Let's go here first. And we're going to be all over the place giving you different updates here. Look at this headline here. Trump says that the United States will remove all sanctions on Syria. All right, let's check this out.
That's why my administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. And I'm very pleased to announce that Secretary Marco Rubio will be meeting with the new Syrian foreign minister in Turkey later this week. And very importantly, after discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince, and also with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East. I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness.
What did he say right here? The United States, under President Donald Trump, is going to remove all sanctions from Syria to give them a chance for greatness. Now, we're going to finish this video, excuse me, and then I'm going to give you some insight into Syria. And we're going to show you the truths about Syria that you're probably not going to hear from mainstream outlets, from ABC, CBS, NBC, maybe some, but probably not. But let's get into this. So thunderous applause for removing all sanctions from Syria. Standing ovation.
Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince.
Kind of a weird statement, but okay.
The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have, based on the people and the spirit and everything else that I'm hearing about, So I say, good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia. Okay, they're going to show us something special.
Show us something special? Okay, I was going to wait on this, but let me go ahead and interject this because this is crazy. You realize, guys, that Syria is very anti-Israel. Syria under Erdogan, and don't be deceived. If you think that this new administration in Syria is not going to be hostile towards Israel and not have the same agenda to have Israel wiped out completely and removed and their name be no more, then you are deceived, my friend. So number one, Syria has a track record of being hostile towards Israel. Number two, Syria also has a track record of being hostile towards Christianity. In fact, there has been gruesome reports that have been given to us by people that are there in the Middle East, missionaries, people of political power. We had Mondo Gonzalez with us, and he confirmed. I've straight out asked him on the podcast about, was these reports true about what we're hearing about the slaughter of thousands of Christians? And he said not only was it true, but it was much greater than what was being projected. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make this clear here. The nation of Syria, who, again, Trump is removing all sanctions from, has a track record of being hostile towards Israel, who God says is the apple of his eye, who he told Abraham when he made a covenant with Israel that, listen, I'm going to make this, and I'm going to paraphrase this. I'm going to make this very simple with you, Abraham. I, the Lord, am going to bless those who bless you, your lineage, your seed, those who come from your seed, the nations that will come out of you. The Israel, the God's heritage. Read it in Joel chapter 3. The apple of his eye is what God calls him. He said, I will bless those who bless you and your seed, but I will curse those who curse you. Now, what does curse you mean? We're not talking about somebody having a swearing fit and dropping 4-letter words here. If you look up that word in that Hebrew word here, it means those nations that manifest hostility towards Israel by trying to wipe them out, by trying to annihilate them and destroy them and carrying out terroristic attacks and raising up proxies in the support of Iran or Persia and try to destroy Israel. God says, you will find yourself fighting against me. And yet, and we're going to get a deeper analysis on this in a minute. We're going to bring up Amir from Behold Israel. We're going to show you a video clip from him and another gentleman that he had on his podcast that he gave an update. So we'll give you that, and we'll give his perspective on this. But this is troubling to me on many levels that I'm expressing to you. So very interesting. But let's go ahead. Let me pull it back up, and we'll finish this out, and we'll go and we'll move on here.
Very good people. Everywhere we can, my administration is pursuing peaceful engagement, offering a strong and steady hand of friendship to all that will take it in good faith.
That's interesting as well, guys. Again, based on 1 Thessalonians, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them. So we know in Daniel 9:27, if you take these two verses alone, that we know that there has to come peace before destruction, right? So I'm not surprised about this. And again, it does. And I'm not putting the spotlight on Trump, but he is the current president of the United States. It doesn't matter who would be in his shoes. Whoever this individual is, they're going to pave the way for the Daniel 9:27 covenant with many. And as we pointed out, this is a treaty in Daniel 9:27. The Antichrist confirms. In other words, it's already established. The framework, the groundwork, the blueprints, all this stuff is already put in place so that when he comes along, he just Ready? He confirms it. He confirms a covenant with many for 7 years. So this has to happen no matter who is president.
Together we have made unprecedented strides and tremendous progress, and we're still just at the dawn of the bright new day that awaits for the people of the Middle East, the great, great people of the Middle East. If the responsible nations of this region seize this moment, put aside your differences and focus on the interests that unite you, then all of humanity will soon be amazed at what they will see right here in this geographic center of the world. It really is. It's like a center of the world and the spiritual heart of its greatest faiths. For the first time in 1,000 years, the world will look at this region not as a place of turmoil and strife and war and death, but as a land of opportunity and hope, just like you've done right here, a cultural and commercial crossroads.
All right, so Trump has, again, he's announced he's removing all sanctions from Syria. Now, I thought this was interesting. I want to pull up this article because there's something in exchange here. This was interesting right here. All right, look at this. Trump Tower, Damascus. And by the way, Damascus, according to Isaiah 17, is significant. We'll talk about that in a second. Syria seeks to charm the U.S. president for sanctions relief. Okay, so let's read this. I quote, this is from Reuters. A Trump Tower in Damascus, a detente with Israel and U.S. access to Syria's oil and gas are part of Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara's strategic pitch to try to get face time with U.S. President Trump during his trip to Middle East, according to several sources familiar with the push to woo Washington. And by the way, that happened. An American pro-Trump activist who on April 30th met Shara for 4 hours in Damascus, along with Syrian activists in Gulf Arab states, has been trying to arrange a landmark, if unlikely, meeting between the two leaders this week. Will that happen? On the sideline of Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Syria struggled to implement conditions set out by Washington to relieve from U.S. sanctions, which keep the country cut off from the global financial system and make economic recovery extremely challenging after 14 years of grinding war. Again, we read on down here, and I want to show you something. Shara wants a, quote, business deal for the future of his country. Nothing that could cover energy exploitation, cooperation against Iran, and engagement with Israel. Quote, he told me he wants a, quote, Trump Tower in Damascus and wants peace with his neighbors. What he told me is good for the region and good for Israel. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you right now, I don't care if you voted for Trump or you didn't, or you're conservative or you're Republican. You better not fall for this. You need to study Islam, okay? You need to study Islam because they can lie like dogs in order to achieve their agenda. I want to read, this is interesting. In Ezekiel 36, look at the verbiage here. Thus saith the Lord God, because the enemy has said of you, aha, the ancient heights or the ancient high places, depending on what translation, have become our possession. Again, this is the Golan Heights, by the way. This is where all this conflict is over. And listen what it says here. Aha, the enemy has said, the ancient high places have become our possession. Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith the Lord God, because they made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, so that you became the, quote, possession of the rest of the nations. It's talking about Israel. Again, Zechariah tells us they will be the cup of trembling in the last days. And you, look at what it says here, you are taken up by the lips of talkers and slandered by the people. You're taken up by the lips of talkers and slandered by the people. In other words, if you think, this is why, friends, 1 Thessalonians, why do you think it says, when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction shall come upon them, like a woman in travail in birth. Because again, this perks up my ears. When I hear these people who have a track record of being hostile towards Israel, when they start coming out on the forefront saying, oh, we want peace, We want peace with Israel, and we'll build, and they're flattering Donald Trump. And of course he's going to fall for that, because you think he doesn't want a Trump Tower? I mean, again, guys, I want to remind you, the video that the White House, somebody in the White House released, I don't know who did it. Nobody knows. But somebody did it, and somebody put it on True Social on Donald Trump's page. Somebody put it on his Facebook page. Somebody put it on his X account, and it was all over the internet. We did a whole podcast on that, where his vision for Gaza was this Riviera, and there was a giant golden statue of Donald Trump in that AI video. There was all these small miniature Trump figurines and all this stuff. And now here you have, they're saying, oh, they're just flattering Trump, saying we're gonna build a Trump Tower in Damascus to honor you in return if you will just lift those sanctions off of us. And obviously, this man bought this hook, line, and sinker. Now, of course, he'll tell you it's in the name of peace. Now, here's the ironic thing about this is this tower is going to be fruitless, because Damascus, Syria, has a very dark prophecy over it. According to Isaiah, and Isaiah chapter 17, the prophet tells us that in the future, one day, we don't know when, but one day it will happen, that Damascus will become a ruinous heap. They will be annihilated. They will be destroyed. They will be left in ruins. And now, if Trump Tower is going there, ladies and gentlemen, it will be brought down as well. So again, I question this. Again, this raises my red flags up. Where are the Trump advisors, the spiritual advisors, the faith team, Paula White, these individuals who are all supportive about Israel? Can somebody get in there who understands Bible prophecy? I don't understand, how is this a good idea if this faith team led by Paula White is trying to preserve Christians and fight against the persecution of people of faith around the world, but yet you give your approval for the President of the United States to lift all sanctions off of a nation who has a track record of being hostile towards Israel, the Jewish people, and the people of God, Christians. This just blows my mind. Blows my mind. Meanwhile, in Saudi Arabia, Trump calls on Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, recognizing the nation of Israel. All right, check it out.
World stage. After so many decades of conflict, finally it is within our grasp to reach the future that generations before us could only dream about, a land of peace, safety, harmony, opportunity, innovation, and achievement.
Did you hear that? He said peace and safety in the same breath, ladies and gentlemen. Prophetic. I didn't say pathetic. I said prophetic. Absolutely prophetic
right
there.
Here in the Middle East. So beautiful. It's such a beautiful thing that's happening. I guess, the people that are here can't even really appreciate it, because you see it happening, and it's when you come to a place that you haven't seen in 5 years or 10 years or 20 years that it's even more incredible. When I left office just over 4 years ago, that future seemed almost impossible, what you've done. Together we had obliterated the killers of ISIS. We wiped them out, terminated its founder and leader, al-Baghdadi. We had healed the divide in the Gulf Cooperation Council, it's a very big deal, and united the nations of the region to stand against the enemies of all civilization. We'd imposed unprecedented sanctions on Iran and starved the regime of resources to fund terror. They were unable to fund anything because they had no money left. They had no money. But the new administration came in and let them have a lot of money, and you saw what happened. It was not money well spent. And
that's true. And then for you people that think that I'm always so negative against Trump and I'm hostile towards Trump, we called out Joe Biden for that. We called him out. We have the receipts on it. It's in podcasts. It's archived. It's on our main website. When Sleepy Joe gave millions and millions. I can't remember the number. It could have been in the billions. I can't remember. It was a lot of money. And gave it to Iran. My mind was blown. And where do you think that money went? That money helped fund what happened on October 7th against the people of Israel. No doubt. Absolutely. And listen, Joe Biden and his administration has blood on their hands for that. So again, we are not hostile towards the Republican Party or Trump. We, again, call out these political leaders based on what is best for the nation of Israel, what is opposed to the Bible and the Word of God. The Word of God is the standard, not a Republican Party, a Democrat Party, or whatever stance you have politically. We call out both sides as we see it. So I absolutely 100% agree with Trump in this area.
The historic Abraham Accords that we're so proud of, all the momentum was aimed at peace, and it aimed very successfully. It's been an amazing thing, the Abraham Accords, and it's my fervent hope, wish, and even my dream that Saudi Arabia, a place I have such respect for, especially over the last fairly short period of time, what you've been able to do, but we'll soon be joining the Abraham Accords. I think it'll be a tremendous tribute to your country, and it will be something that's really going to be very important for the future of the Middle East. I took a risk in doing them, and they've been an absolute bonanza for the countries that have.
And this is amazing, guys. Again, let me pull this back, and I'm going to go back to this. I find this very fascinating because I believe 100%, what I'm telling you, I 100% stand by. And I believe these Abrahamic Accords is the framework that is being built, is being laid out for this Daniel 9:27 prophecy. Again, we talked about this a few minutes ago. It talks about here, the Antichrist shall come and confirm a covenant with many, this is many nations, for 7 years. That's 1 week in Hebrew. Again, but in the middle of this, he will break this covenant, and that's when he will invade Jerusalem in the temple. But don't miss, that's the key to this. Think about how significant this is. If Saudi Arabia agrees to this and more nations come to this, this is absolutely building the framework that there will be many nations already in a framework of peace. And then the Antichrist, all he's got to do is step in and establish and confirm what's already been laid there. So we're seeing Bible prophecy accelerate right before our eyes.
Joined. The Biden administration did nothing for 4 years. We would have had it filled out. But it will be a special day in the Middle East with the whole world watching when Saudi Arabia joins us. And you'll be greatly honoring me, and you'll be greatly honoring all of those people.
Another weird statement, greatly honoring me. Why? Why say that? That's so weird. Again, love him or hate him, this man has got a lot of pride. And he loves when he is the center of attention. Now, you can agree or disagree with that. Whatever you want to do, it don't matter to me. It ain't going to change nothing. We're still going to keep going here. But that is a weird statement to say there.
People that have fought so hard for the Middle East, and I really think it's going to be something special. But you'll do it in your own time, and that's what I want, and that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. When I left off...
Wow, and that's the way it's going to be. I mean, this man is so assured that this is going to happen. That's what I want, that's what you want, and that's the way it's going to be. Interesting. Just the verbiage
It's
here.
the only thing still standing between this region and its unbelievable potential was a small group of rogue actors and violent thugs seeking constantly to drag the Middle East backward and into havoc, mayhem, and indeed into war. Unfortunately, instead of confronting these destructive forces, the last U.S. administration chose to enrich them and empower them and give them billions and billions of dollars. The Biden administration, the worst administration in the history of our country, by the way, spurned our most trusted and longstanding Gulf partners, and I can say partners worldwide, one of our great, great partners, no matter who we look to, and we have great partners in the world, but we have none stronger and nobody like the gentleman that's right before me. He's your greatest representative greatest representative. And if I didn't like him, I'd get out of here so fast. You know that, don't you? He knows me well. I do. I like him a lot. I like him too much. That's why we give so much, you know? Too much. I like you too much.
Again, another weird, it's just bizarre, guys. Some of these statements that Trump makes here.
Great guy. They lifted sanctions on Iran in exchange for getting nothing, and sent the regime tens of billions of dollars to fund terror and death all over the world. And they laughed at him. They laughed at our leader. And they're still laughing at our leader. They thought him a fool. And they made nothing but trouble ever since, including the funding of October 7th, one of the worst days ever in the history of the Middle East. Horrible day. Biden removed the Houthi.
Did you notice that no one clapped on that? Just thought to throw that out there. Why would no one would agree with that in that room? All these Saudis, all the people there of Saudi Arabia, all those Muslims in there, nobody clapped about that. Nobody agreed. Yeah, that was the worst day in Israel's history. We agree with that.
From the list of foreign terrorist organizations, even while missiles and drones were being launched right here at your beautiful city of Riyadh, and launched at ships if they happened to be sailing in the wrong location. The Biden administration's extreme weakness and gross incompetence derailed progress toward peace, destabilized the region, and put at risk everything we had worked so hard to build together. And when you think of the great achievements that you've made, to do it in light of a pretty hostile administration, an administration that was not a believer, it makes your achievements even greater. Makes them even greater. You know that. But in a few short months since taking office, we have achieved the swift return of American strength at home and abroad, now working with the vast majority of people in this region who seek stability and calm. Our task is to unify against the few agents of chaos and terror that are left and that are holding hostage the dreams of millions and millions.
All right, let's look at this headline. This is from CNN. Trump's embrace of Syria and its jihadist turned president could shake up the Middle East. All right, let's read this. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday had tea with a former jihadist who until recently had 10 million U.S. bounty on his head. That's right. Isn't it crazy how the tide has turned? Very interesting to me. Interim Syrian president, once known by his militant, this title he's given, met Trump in Riyadh 6 months after leading a swift campaign that toppled the half-a-century-old Assad regime, ejecting Iran-backed armed groups and declaring himself leader of the country. Al-Shara was placed on the U.S. Special Designated Global Terrorist List in 2013. Again, this man who met with Donald Trump and is offering to build him a Trump Tower in Damascus in exchange for lifting the sanctions, which Trump is going to do and give them a shining chance for greatness. He headed the Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria, known as Al-Nusra Front, and allegedly orchestrating suicide bombings across Syria. The Saudi-born former jihadist had spent years fighting U.S. forces in Iraq before moving to Syria to lead an armed Islamist rebellion that ousted the brutal dictator, Bashar al-Assad. The meeting, described by Syria as historic, was the first between a U.S. and Syrian president in 25 years, taking place during Trump's Middle East tour, the first set of state visits of his second term. Both leaders, Trump and, again, the new Al-Shara, were seen smiling in photos released by the White House and the Saudi Foreign Ministry. The Syrian Foreign Ministry said Trump's commitment to standing by Syria at this critical juncture. Now, I thought this was a fascinating headline from the Jerusalem Post. Look at this headline. Listen to this for you guys listening by Apple or Spotify. Again, quote, Trump's photo with Syrian President Al-Shara symbolizes New World Order. Ladies and gentlemen, I did not make that up. That is an actual headline. Here is the picture of this. Again, you have Syrian President Ahmed Shara there on the right of your screen, with President Donald Trump on the far left. And of course, in the middle of them was the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. And again, the Jerusalem Post titled this, Trump's photo with Syrian President al-Shara symbolizes a new world order. Let's read a little bit of this. U.S. President Donald Trump met with new Syrian leader Ahmed al-Shara. The photos from his historic moment that surfaced on Wednesday symbolize, look at this, symbolize that a new world order is emerging. Wow. This, quote, is a major event in the Middle East. Meanwhile, here's an interesting headline. Trump's Middle East trip leaves Netanyahu watching from the sidelines again. All right, according to this report, conspicuously missing from the itinerary was a stop in Israel. All right, according to the report, Israeli officials tried to inquire about the possibility of a stop in Jerusalem or Tel Aviv during Trump's trip, according to a source familiar with the matter. But the president doused the flicker of those hopes last week when he said, quote, he had no plans to stop in Israel. Quote, we will be doing it at some point, but he said, not this trip. And we'll give you an explanation, again, from a different analysis on this from other commentators on why that may have been. But nevertheless, Trump might have been persuaded to add the visit to his itinerary if he could claim some sort of victory, whether it be a ceasefire agreement in Gaza, a humanitarian aid plan, or something else. But with Israel posed to expand its war in Gaza, there are no such deliverables. Even with the release of hostage Ed Eden Alexander on Monday, prospects for a comprehensive ceasefire still seem distant. Quote, without results, he's not coming to Israel, said the source. Now we do have this is a short video here on YouTube. He was addressed about not visiting Israel in the Middle East, and I want to give you what he said about this.
You're not going to Israel. Does this trip sideline Israel at all?
No, not at all. No, this is good for Israel. Having a relationship like I have with these countries, Middle Eastern countries, essentially all of them, I think it's very good for Israel.
You're not going to Israel.
So in case I know that was a lot, you couldn't hardly hear that because he was on an airplane, the engine of the plane. There wasn't really a good answer there. He just saying, no, our relations are good with Israel. Everything is great. And this is the same thing. And again, this comes on the heels of some pretty nasty reports, guys, such as this. There have been many these reports circulating all over the place. Here's one of them. Netanyahu-Trump relationship strained over differing Middle East solutions. Okay? Now, what is this about? Here's a little video on this to explain a little bit more.
Let's talk about the fact that President Trump's about to set off for his first official foreign trip, comes as he's grappling with all of these issues on the world stage, and as you have new reporting about potential strains with his relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu.
Yeah, that's right. The president's going to go to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, and this is a trip that's going to focus on the economy. You'll see announcements about investments in the U.S., trade, arms deals, those sorts of things. But when you step back and look at the broader world stage, the president's bigger priorities in terms of ending the war in Ukraine, what's happening in Israel, they're kind of stuck. And what we've learned, and the president is not going to Israel on this trip, is that the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu have had some tensions over the way forward on Gaza, on Iran. So while the president will be in the Middle East touting all of these that he's delivering economically for the American people, he's really struggling more to deliver on these bigger challenges.
All right, so look, guys, I can't confirm or deny that there is tensions between Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. I don't know. So I don't feel like I'm qualified to say yay or nay. I'm only going to give you that report, and you could do what you want with that. But we do know the facts that he did skip over Israel. He did skip over the nation of Israel in this meeting, had no meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu. All right, meanwhile, Trump offers Iran a choice. He gives them an ultimatum. Again, this is yet another threat to Iran. Drop the nuclear weapons program or face, quote, maximum pressure. All right, now we got a video on this. Trump wants to make a deal with Iran. Let's hear this. I'll pull this up right here.
If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. If you know that, they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
All right, Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Now, to me, this seems like it's a little bit less of inflammatory. These threats are less inflammatory than they were several months ago, because I remember this. We reported on this. Trump told he had reporters come to him, and he said on camera that if Iran does not agree, if they continue their nuclear program, we will destroy it. We will bomb their nuclear program with or without the help of Israel. And Benjamin Netanyahu agreed with Trump. And there was rumors and speculated that these two, Benjamin Netanyahu and President Trump, again, with Israel and America and military forces, they would unite and they would destroy the Iranian nuclear program. Now, is that still on the table? I don't know. Now it seems like now he's using a new term, maximum pressure. He gave you a little bit details of that. Sounds like he's going to hit them where it hurts in their pocketbook, but there's no mention there of military action. So again, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Do you think that's still on the table? Do you think that we could still bomb Iran? Do you think that Israel will work with the United States and carry this out? Do you think, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions, guys, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Do you think that the rumors are true, that there is now tensions emerging and building among Israel and America, howbeit Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu? Again, we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments here in the chat and by the replay of this on YouTube and on Rumble. All right, now we're gonna set into a little bit of this interview. This is between Amir of Behold Israel, and he had a special guest, Barry Stagner. They're going to talk about the developments in Israel, Gaza, Iran, Yemen, Syria, all this stuff, and the controversial, again, visit by Trump in the Middle East. So let's just chime in here a little bit on this and see what they had to say about this situation.
That we see Bible prophecy being fulfilled yet to this very day, now some 77 years later. You mentioned at the outset, Amir, that Trump's on a tour, and, I think we'd have to hesitate to call it a political tour. It's really a business tour. He's out there cutting deals as he would do as a real estate mogul. But
that's interesting. He said that this is not a political trip, but it is a business trip. That's not my words. That's Barry Stagner's words. So let's listen to the rest of this.
Everything that's been happening out there, especially in the countries that he's been visiting, has been very curious and maybe even a little bit of a revelation to the fact that 1 Corinthians 2:14 says the natural man cannot discern the things of God because they are spiritual. And it seems as though he's making some moves that could be viewed with some concern. And maybe you can address that issue for us today.
Yeah. Well, I will not hide from you or from the audience my utter shock and disappointment from some of the moves that President Trump did. However, I will tell you now, in his worst day, I still prefer him over Kamala in her best day. It has to be very clearly stated, this is by far the most friendliest administration Israel ever had. And
ladies and gentlemen, I agree with that. Again, that's why I voted for him. I voted for Trump because he was the best option. He was the best option for Israel. I believe he was the better option for America. But again, don't miss it. He's still an instrument for Bible prophecy. That's the point that we make all the time.
White House. So, but adding to that, I must, we must call things the way they are and not hide things from. I don't have any allegiance to any politician. When I see things that are wrong, I call them out. I don't hide them, and I think that
Well, thank God somebody else does it.
President Trump, from the very beginning, in the preparation for this tour, I think he made some statements and later on made some moves that were raising eyebrows in Israel and also in America, believe it or not. A lot of people are kind of concerned. And it started with the fact that he hid from us the deal with the Houthis that he had, a ceasefire with the Houthis. Now, look, President Trump doesn't need to tell us anything in advance, but it would be nice to hear it from him and not from the media. But we're the allies, and we're the ones that are getting hit by the Houthis. And basically what Trump basically said is, as far as we're concerned, the Houthis can fire at Israel. We're not going to take sides here. As long as they don't fire at us or at commerce ships, we're okay. The fact that, by the way, the Houthis just shut down another MQ-9 $30 million UAV, American UAV, they shot it down last night. I guess you have to turn a blind eye to that one. But I will tell you, it's probably liberating for us. If you really think about it, from now on, Israel will have to take care of business without having to even coordinate anything with America, because it's going to be our planes alone in the skies of Yemen. And we're going to talk about what we
that's interesting.
did a few days ago and what we are about to do a few hours from now. So that's the one thing, the Houthi thing. And then came, of course, the whole rumor that he's going to allow the Saudis to have nuclear plants. When our neighbor is becoming nuclear, it's good for us to know. And our objection is, of course, due to the fact that our neighbors are not exactly true to their promises all the time. Right. They can be nice now, they can turn against us tomorrow. Yep. So you don't want a Middle East nuclear race. And the last thing that happened is, of course, the whole Qatar thing that it started with him receiving $400 million Boeing 747-800 jet that is a flying flying palace, basically. And the reason, I don't mind that President Trump flies something like that. I think the optics of that are horrible. But I do think that when a country gives you $400 million worth of a private jet, you will probably tend to be more favorable towards it than something else. Now, it's one thing if you cut deals with them. They just, by the way, cut a deal that Qatar will buy 170 jets from Boeing. It's a $200 billion deal. That's good. I get it. You need some working hands in America. You need your economy. You need investments in America. But remember, receiving a gift from a country, it doesn't look good, but it also makes people wonder, are your decisions going to be pure or tainted with favoritism because of that? I mean, Trump, don't forget, Trump has his own business in Qatar. Now he has his own gift from Qatar. And people in Israel are saying, if that same country that Trump said in 2017 that is actually promoting terrorism, if that same country with hundreds of millions of dollars changing his mind, doesn't look good, does it?
Man, what a point. He's got a good point there.
What is the message that he's sending to the others? And then, of course, came the meeting today with the Al-Jolani. 25 years since the last time American president met with a Syrian president. This is not even an elected president. He's an ISIS terrorist who took off his ISIS robe and put on himself a suit. Up until 4 months ago, there was a bounty on his head, $10 million bounty, because the guy was the head of Harir al-Sham and Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. And that's a ISIS organization that beheaded and killed and butchered many, many people. You don't put a bounty of $10 million on someone unless he did some horrific things. And now, Trump
think about that.
Says we cannot really live in the past and always hold things against people who what they did in the past. And he's right. You cannot live in the past. But al-Jolani allowed his own gang to kill and massacre the Alawites and the Druze just a week and two ago. That's not the past. That's the present. He did the same against the Christian. He will do the same against the Kurds. So I don't really truly understand the logic behind cutting deals under the pressure of jihadist countries and Muslim Brotherhood countries like Turkey and Qatar, and accepting al-Jolani as a world leader. But again, Pastor Barry, I decided not to try to find logic anymore. As you just read from the Bible, I don't think that we should look at everything that Trump is doing as something that should make sense biblically to us. And he's not a pastor. He's not a spiritual person. He does not let the Spirit of God lead him when he does things. This is a business tour.
Wow, he said he does not let the Spirit of God lead him when he makes decisions. Well, that's contrary to everything we've been told, because that's why he's got Paula White to advise him to make these spiritual decisions. So again, Trump is an instrument to fulfill or to thrust us towards and advance us to the fulfillment of Bible prophecy. I didn't say he's fulfilling Bible prophecy. He's thrusting us towards the fulfillment of Bible prophecy, laying the framework, laying forth the groundwork to prepare us for that. Now, I'm going to close with this. I thought this was interesting. In the middle of all this stuff going on in the Middle East, this happened. Check this out. An earthquake of magnitude 6.3 struck in Crete, Greece, but it was felt all the way in central Israel. Reports from Israelis, particularly in the center of the country, including Tel Aviv and surrounding areas, reported feeling shock waves from the earthquake. Wow, what about that, ladies and gentlemen? Right in the middle of all of this is going on in the Middle East, where these nations, the nations' leaders, again, Saudi Arabia, you have Syria, you have Turkey, and you have Trump of the United States. And again, all of these deals that are being made, we don't even know, I don't even think we know the full magnitude of everything that's being put in ink. But while in the midst of all that happening, you have an earthquake that is felt across Tel Aviv and Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you today that we are living in the most exciting times that we could ever be alive. The prophets they saw these days, but they didn't live to see their fulfillment. But we are alive for such a time as this. I know that's a cliche in the body of Christ, but we really are, guys. We really are, and we're seeing the birth pangs of the Messiah intensify and increase in magnitude and intensity that I don't think other generations have seen. The advancement of technology, the increasement of disasters, the increasement of pestilences and famines and plagues, the wars, the rumors of wars, all the fulfillment of Israel and prophecy, Israel being reborn as a nation, Jerusalem being reestablished as the capital, them blossoming again, the framework and the groundwork and the blueprints all being established for the fulfillment of Daniel 9:27, 2 Thessalonians, Matthew 24. And I want to leave you. I want to leave you with a very familiar passage of Luke 21:28. Jesus said, when you begin to see all of these things coming to pass, to look up and lift up your heads because your redemption is drawing near. EndTimeHeadlines.org, EndTimeHeadlines.com. Again, guys, that's going to be our main website. If you've not downloaded our free app, we want to encourage you to pick it up today on Apple, on Android. Download it today. Hit yes to push notifications. If you're watching the visual of this, under the description of this video, it says download our free app. If you will click that link, it'll bring you there to where you can download it. And again, you're going to be informed right at your fingertips. Breaking news, headlines, prophecy updates, all articles, everything we put out, all of our content. And as always, guys, we want to give an opportunity. If this ministry is a blessing to you, it informs you, it equips you, it encourages you. It's your home church. For some of you, this is your home church. Whatever the case may be, you pray about becoming a monthly partner, and God will bless you in return for that. And you will help us by helping us remain strong and active in ministry today, and doing what we need to do. And again, what we do is every week we're coming on here at least minimum 4 days a week. All of our content's free. The app is free. The website is free. We don't sell any merchandise or any other podcasts. Again, absolutely free. All we ask is you pray about becoming a monthly partner, and you can do that 2 different ways. Right there on your screen, you can give electronically through the app, through the website, or you can give by check or money order to End Time Headlines, P.O. Box 1391, Monroe, Georgia 30655. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to sign off for tonight, and we plan on, Lord willing, we have a podcast where I'll be a guest on tomorrow afternoon that we'll be taping, but I plan on taping our episode for tomorrow night on Friday, May 16th. If something changes, we'll announce it, we'll push it off till Saturday. But I plan on going ahead and coming on here tomorrow for tomorrow evening as well. Again, same time, same place, same channel. Be looking if that schedule gets changed or rearranged, we'll still come on here, but we'll do it on Saturday or Sunday instead. We do that sometimes during the summer months because our schedule's hectic. But nevertheless, we hope to see you on tomorrow night. If not tomorrow night, we'll definitely see you in the next couple of days. So until then, I pray the Lord bless you, keep you, and may his countenance shine upon you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you for listening to the End Time Headlines podcast. We pray that you've been blessed and equipped by today's message. For more information about how you can help partner with our ministry, please visit endtimeheadlines.org.